Welcome back to another devlog for my horror game. Today I want to take you through the development of one of my favorite puzzles to model, texture and animate, the child piano. It's a creepy, interactive puzzle hidden inside a child's bedroom, and it features both sound design and horror elements, with a little twist. So I knew I wanted to create a child's room in my game. A space that feels totally out of place inside an abandoned attic. Toys can be really unsettling when placed in the wrong context, so I started brainstorming puzzle ideas around children's toys. Sound design and music play a big role in horror games. Since I'm a big fan of playing instruments, I thought about ways to integrate one into my game. I eventually landed on the idea of a child's piano. The mechanic is simple: play the correct 4-note melody and the player receives a key. But of course, there's a catch. Inside the piano sits a porcelain clown doll. When the player interacts with the piano for the first time, the back door suddenly opens and the clown leaps out directly at the player's face with a jump scare. From then on, whenever the player attempts a melody, the clown reacts, shaking its head if the melody is wrong and leaning forward with its mouth open if the melody is correct. Inside its mouth is the key the player needs to continue. Designing music puzzles for games can be tricky. Players need to know which tune to play, but not everyone has a background in music. Some people can't read notes at all, while others would breeze through if I just handed them sheet music. The challenge is to make the puzzle fair and understandable for everyone, while still keeping it interesting. First, I decided to simplify the keyboard itself. Instead of the usual mix of black and white keys, I created a clean layout of 13 buttons, each labeled with a number from 1 to 13. This removes the complexity of real piano keys and gives every player the same starting point. Moreover, musicians won't know which number corresponds to which note. But there was still one question: how do players translate the written melody into numbers? The solution was a small decoding chart. I made 2 graphics, each showing a musical note alongside its matching number. One note sits directly on a line, the other sits in the place between lines. This demonstrates the basic concept of music notation, without requiring prior knowledge. With that hint, players can decode the rest of the melody themselves. One useful step when designing puzzles for games is creating paper prototypes. That simply means building a very rough version of the puzzle on paper before touching any code. It might sound old-fashioned, but it's extremely useful. You can sketch out the keyboard, the music sheet and the decoding chart. Then hand it to someone and see if they can actually solve it. This way you can test the logic of the puzzle quickly and cheaply, without spending hours modeling, animating or programming. For the piano puzzle, I drew the entire setup on paper and asked a friend, who has no background in music, to try it. She was able to solve it without any trouble, which showed me that the idea works not just in my head, but also for someone coming in completely fresh. Next came the part I really looked forward to the whole time: creating, texturing and animating the model. At first I blocked everything out. Next I wanted to work on the clown, because it seemed to be the most fun part. I started researching toys from the 1940s that had a creepy look and some moving parts. Then I ran into a problem. I'm not really good at character modeling. I already made some attempts by creating one of the enemies, but this took very long and I'm still not completely happy with it. Although my plan for the game is to create most of the assets all by myself, I decided to have a look at some work on CG Trader. Maybe there's something that I can get and change it a little bit. I found this very cool model that was 3D print ready and downloaded it. After deleting some parts I didn't need, I changed the topology until I was happy. Of course, I couldn't use the high poly mesh in my game, so I needed to retopologize it. Afterwards, I sat down and modeled the piano. I made each key a separate object, so they could be pressed down individually. The next step was texturing in Substance Painter, which I really looked forward to. I imported the low poly meshes and baked the high poly information on it. For the clown, I took inspiration from old photographs and used mainly primary colors. The mouth was especially important. I wanted it to look bloody and disturbing when it laughs at the player. To make the clown extra uncanny, I photographed my own eyes and mapped them onto the model. Is that creepy? Texturing the piano was easy. I mainly used a wooden texture and added an emission map to highlight whichever key the player is selecting. After rigging the clown with an armature, I created 3 animations: the sudden jump out of the piano, the mocking headshake, and the key reveal with the clown leaning forward and opening its mouth. The jump out was especially important to get right. It should go right into the player's face, with a good timing to create a jump scare. At the same time, the clown opens its mouth laughing to reveal the key to the players so they know their next objective. In Unity, I first coded the main mechanic of playing a melody. The player selects keys with the arrow buttons and presses E to play them. Each played note is stored in a 4-note array. Once 4 notes are played, the melody is checked. If it matches the solution, the correct animation plays and the key becomes interactable. As I really liked playing the piano, I gave players the possibility to continue playing their own melodies after they solve the puzzle. Let's get to the point this puzzle is all about: the sound. A normal child's piano doesn't sound like a real piano. I researched and found that many of these toys actually use a small instrument called celeste, which creates a bell-like sound. I took samples, pitched them, and assigned them to each key. For the clown, I wanted a mechanical wooden feel. I combined multiple different sounds, including pulling on a folding rule, and layered them in Audacity. The final result is a creaky, clattering sound. Additionally, I added a loud jump scare sound effect. Furthermore, I wanted the melody to be played as a background soundtrack after the player solved the puzzle, so I created a short track on GarageBand. Let's test the puzzle and see how we can include the clown further by playing with some lights and sound effects. I think the child piano is done, but one open issue remains. I don't just want to leave the music sheet and decoding chart lying around randomly. I wanted them to be part of another children's toy puzzle. But I think you'll have to wait for the next video to see it. So don't forget to subscribe. As I like the concept of using music as a gameplay mechanic, I'm currently thinking of expanding this mechanic. I already made this grand piano as a prop, but it's not playable yet. Maybe players could use it to lure or distract enemies that react sensitive to sound. Maybe you also have some ideas, I'm glad to hear them in the comments. And that's the story behind the child piano. Thank you for watching. I'm having so much fun creating these videos and reading about your ideas. So see you next time for the follow-up puzzle.